Welcome back to the Socialist Rifle Association podcast. I'm your host, Jessie. Last week I sat down with SRA President Brett.
My name is Brett. I am currently president of the SRA.
But that's soon to change, right?
I will not be running again this time around.
Well, I'm sure I speak for many people in saying that we're sad to see you go. Do you have any plans on coming back in the future?
For at least a year. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I think 2 years of my nonsense has been enough for the organization for right now.
But that's not the only news you got, right? Not the only change coming. Didn't you all institute a whole new set of bylaws that we're going to be running the org from?
There have been a lot of changes, specifically the new bylaws that went into effect or got voted in January, going into effect July 1st.
Yeah, and the biggest change therein, the one that pops out the most to me, is probably the movement away from an assembly and into a larger organizing committee, I would say. So how do these old bylaws compare to the new ones?
The old ones were just bloated, too much nonsense to deal with, to get anything done, really. Taking 3 months to get anything done, through the assembly or whatever, was just starting to become a real pain in the ass. So now this way, the way it's set up, every month, it's kind of like a governmental setup, really. They have a monthly meeting every month, and that way, if anything comes up, they can take care of it right away and not have to, wait 2 or 3 months to have that meeting to get that stuff done.
So what is the timeline for this new organizing committee election?
They pushed it back a little bit for this first one. I'm not sure exactly what all the cases were, but I know there were some people that were having issues with, they were getting people to nominate them that weren't full members and stuff like that. So they figured that they'd just push it back a week, let people, apply if they still wanted to or whatever, and then get the other ones that actually did apply already fixed up with full members actually, nominating them and whatever. So.
So what issues are on deck for this new OC? What do you think they're going to be getting up to next?
I honestly don't know. Because, I guess it's all going to depend on how it all shakes out, too. Because, if you get, a board full of people that want to do nothing but firearms training, then, they're going to be setting a budget that puts 75% of money into the firearms training budget, or whatever. It's all going to depend on who gets in there and who pushes for what. I hope that they stick with the committees and subcommittees that, were going on with the assembly and stuff, as much as sometimes those assembly committees didn't meet or, do their jobs at times, but it happens. But yeah, I just think that the new OC, the way it's set up, especially with, the terms, instead of it being a year, now it's going to be 2 years. This first election's kind of special, though, because the first one is going to be the top half are going to have a 2-year term, and then it's the bottom half are going to have a 1-year term. So then that way, when the next elections come up next year, half the board will be swapped out, or in theory could be swapped out with new people, or the people that were in there can run for their next term of 2 years, and then after that, it's just every 2 year, every election, it's a 2-year cycle instead.
Awesome. That's great to hear. That definitely bolsters us against siloing and brain drain every 2 years. So we're not losing all this institutional knowledge on a reliable schedule. So this way to me, it seems quite similar to an assembly, except it's not chapter based. It's more that anyone can run, and anyone from any chapter or at large can nominate them and vote for them, and you're not locked into the choices within your chapter.
Yeah, to put it in terms, it's a board of directors is what it is. Um, the board is what runs the organization. Obviously, in the new bylaws, I did keep in the quarterly meetings with the chapters. So in that way, the chapters can send somebody if they want, kind of like a town hall type thing where they can express their grievances or come up with other things and have the board work on the stuff. I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to do it this way, just for the fact that if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, you're going to have nothing get done.
Or conversely, if you have too few cooks in the kitchen, similarly, nothing gets done as well, right?
Yeah. Which I've also seen, it's happened in the administration too over the past couple of years. I've seen that where there's too much to get done with the little resources or the few people that get involved. So hopefully this way, like I said, if they have a meeting every month, it kind of helps them break it down into pieces. And that way they can just, deal with it right away or whatever. But we'll see how it goes.
And just to drive home how similar this new OC is going to be to the assembly, there are even some similar people in between both lists, right?
Like I saw a couple of names that were on the OC list, and they're former assembly reps, and they're usually the ones that were, showing up to almost every single one since 2020. So there's some good institutional knowledge right there off the bat. I am going to still be sticking around in the admin comms while OC takes over, just to kind of help them out if they need help. If they got a question or whatever, they can just ask me or whoever to point them in a direction or whatever.
So I've heard the sentiment thrown around at every levels of the org, from membership all the way up to the OC. It's that we are in the best position that we have ever been, now more than ever. So how would you characterize our growth from, when we were first incorporated to now?
I think we're 1,000 times better. Well, let's see, we're in what, year 8 technically of the entire org being around, and we're in year 5 of it being, since it was a 501c4. The growth that happened in 2020, obviously, I think that was a big, I don't want to say it wasn't a bad thing, but it wasn't good either, with people still trying to figure out their roles and what to do and how to do it. And when you go from, what was it, we had 25 or 3,000 people, and then all of a sudden it shot up to almost 10,000 in a matter of 3 or 4 months. It's we'll have, this massive influx right now, and 6 months time, what it would be at, and then it's very hard to, set budgets, really, is the most problem with that. Because if you have a large influx, then you're expecting, let's say, 3/4 of the people to stick around the entire year, but you only get half of them. Then you already budgeted for 3/4 of them being there, but
yeah,
so, yeah, and it gets tricky, and it seems to be getting better every year too, though. Since they started with the actually setting up the budgets and getting them done and passed through the assembly, what is it, year 4 now that they've done that. They're doing a pretty good job in the finance department as far as keeping with the budget and keeping up with the numbers. So yeah, instructions is really, especially over the last year, have really been kicking ass. I know my chapter just did their OC spray content 2 months ago. Yeah, well, yeah, early April, so roughly 2 months ago. And we ran through that, and we've also run through the basic firearms one that they had. And then they keep coming up with other stuff too. So I mean, it's from where they started and from where they're at now. They still got a little bit of work to do, and they know it. But they're doing the work. The two two for sure, sometimes three that are working on it. You know, they obviously all have lives, and you know, it's another thing that if somebody was, independently wealthy and had all the time in the world and could sit back and just, do instruction stuff for us, that'd be great. But, it is what it is. So Aaron's doing a pretty bang up job. We moved to the Mattermost stuff, what is it, a year ago now? Over Keybase and stuff. And, and it's all controlled. It's on our server. So it's not like, hanging out in the wild on some random server somewhere. So just, the basic, the little things with the tech stuff too, like the web page that's going to get redone here shortly. I think, if I remember what Aaron said was correct. And just different other little things. And as far as chapters go, the new chapter director, been in the spot for 2 months and doing a pretty good job. I think their biggest push right now is to get all the stumps finally set up again and then let them, get their footing and then turn them into a full chapter.
Yeah, it's great to hear about so much growth. What are our most problematic? What are our biggest trouble areas?
I kind of think it's twofold, really. Obviously, it goes back to the amount of people that are in the organization. People sign up, but only, a handful of people are willing to put any kind of work into it. It's kind of a moot point at that time if 3 people are trying to get it all done, because that just does burn out real fast. And then the other one is the whole it's stupid ass law that they're trying to pass through or whatever, get Trump to sign, that's got, at their will can change the nonprofit status of somebody and call them a terrorist organization or whatever the hell that they want to do. And
it's honestly pretty consoling to hear that one half of our largest issues are something we have no control over. That being said, do we have any plans to mitigate the fallout from that, or do we have any plans for responding to that?
Right. Yeah. If you're on the radar, that means you're doing a good job, right? I mean, but again, it's one of those things where you hear it in the news, you see it in the newspapers, you see it all over the place on the internet or whatever. And, people have asked me too, like, well, what do you plan on doing about it? Nothing I can do about it. Even if let's say this whole bill goes through and we lose nonprofit status and we just become corporation, like whatever, nothing really changes other than instead of saying we're a 501c4, we're just a C Corp or an S Corp.
Yeah. So if that's what's in the SRA's future, what's in yours?
Well, I'm taking 2 weeks off, first 2 weeks of July, and then coming back to run the first OC meeting and then have them elect a president. And then I can saunter away after that. But no, I'm going to be working on the SRA store, actually.
Oh, that's awesome. We've needed that for a while.
Yep. And hope, expand and get more offerings, per se. Like there's a bunch of stuff I'd really like to see in there. Like, and Matt wants to get socks.
Well, stay tuned for SRA socks, I guess. Thank you for joining me. That was Brett, the current president of the Socialist Rifle Association. Have a good day.